I was in my car on the way to work when suddenly the name of this game came back to me like it just got injected into my brain. Call of Mini Zombies, a game, if you know it, you probably haven't heard of in a long time. Everybody had their set of nostalgic mobile games that you remember playing on your iPod or your very first phone when you were younger. Some of the big names from this genre are still around to this day, but I want to look at one that didn't quite get the greatest ending despite the relatively popular fanbase it had at the time. It's important to note that this was actually a series with multiple game entries, but I only played this game out of the other games that existed, so that's the one I'm going to be focusing on today. Call of Mini Zombies was released on June 16, 2011 to both iOS and Android devices. The wiki says it also was released on Mac, but I can't imagine too many people were playing this on a computer. It was a wave-based shooter game with a roster of characters ranging from Joe Blow to Ghostface, as well as a nerd and a priest. Look, I know this is kind of bizarre, but I promise you this was peak. The objective is to survive waves against enemy zombies as long as you can. There's an assortment of weapons, both melee and ranged, and there are different pickups you can find while you are playing, like health bonuses, extra money, and extra points. The extra money was good in helping you unlock new weapons or characters for the future days you would be surviving. After surviving a day, you get a certain amount of money as well. While you are playing, there are different kinds of zombies or zombie dogs that you will face. Apparently there were also dinosaurs, but I don't ever remember fighting them, and I'm not too sure if they're in the version I played for this footage. The game mode I usually ended up playing was the Boss Raid game mode, which up to 4 players could fight an extremely powered up zombie to get some pretty good rewards, but usually if one person disconnected, you and your team had much less of a chance because everyone needed to do a lot of damage to kill these things. There was a PvP mode as well, but there were a lot of cheaters because there wasn't really any kind of anti-cheat to keep them from playing the PvP mode. Most of the time you would end up facing someone with this specific golden skin, and they would annihilate you the second you entered the frame. And of course, this weapon was associated with that skin, and it was incredibly hard to obtain if you didn't spend a lot of money. So when the time came to do some research for this video to figure out what had actually happened, I had no clue it had even disappeared off the app stores. So I did some searching to see if maybe the developers had announced some kind of closing down of the studios, or if they were just shutting the game down, or what was going on. The first thing that I found on this wiki.gg page simply said the franchise is considered abandonware due to the 10,000% event that happened on January 2nd, 2020. For those who don't know, abandonware is essentially when a game or software is no longer supported, updated, or sold by the creator. This could be because the original developer or publisher has gone out of business, or because they had lost some licensing agreements, or maybe even the music to the game and they're not legally allowed to sell it anymore. In most cases when this happens with older mobile games, it's because the platforms have become obsolete. They haven't updated the game enough for it to operate on the new App Store or Google Play Store, and you just can't download it. Now, this really wasn't the case for Call of Mini Zombies, as they had actually updated it up until this 2020 point, but after this event had happened, the 10,000% event, things just kind of disappeared. I can't seem to find an exact date of when all of their games were delisted from the App Store, but it seems like it wasn't that long after this January 2nd event. So I searched a little further to kind of investigate into what this whole 10,000% event was, and after doing a little more digging, I found a Facebook post from the developers, Trinity Interactive Studios, saying that this is what they were going to do. The post goes as the following: Trinity Interactive's 10th anniversary all IAP free. For 10 years, Trinity Interactive Studios have published over 150 games on mobile platforms. Out of gratitude for your long support, we decided to bring the most popular games in the past back on the App Store. What's more, all in-app purchases of these games are now free. In other words, all players can enjoy the full content of the games for free. Have a good time and enjoy. Then below that, they attached all of the games that they would be applying this to. After that, nothing. Till this day, there still hasn't been a single Facebook post on this page saying anything about the games, what had happened, where they had gone, or that they officially disbanded as a studio. None of these announcements were made. Now, after doing all this research, I still couldn't find an official statement on what had actually happened to the developers, and they never issued a formal bankruptcy or a closure notice, but it seems like the company was having some restructuring right around the time that this had happened. From what I gathered, it seems like the franchise just couldn't keep up with the ever-changing landscape of mobile games, and maybe they had financial hardships that led them to shut down. At least so I thought. What we know so far is that they had a pretty popular fan base, they had some internal company restructuring early 2020, they had made this 10,000% event making pretty much everything free, and then they had just disappeared. There were no more Facebook posts on their Facebook page, their website was no longer functioning, but I went to take a look at their YouTube and I found something interesting. 1 year ago on the Trinity Interactive Studios YouTube channel, they had posted a trailer for a game called Mini Warriors Reborn. Shortly after that, they had created a beta test that was launched for people to try out. A few months after this trailer, they had released the game in June of 2025, but they were operating under a different name and not the Trinity Interactive Studios name. This game was released under a studio name called Moment Interactive HK Limited, and this game is actually still available at the time of this video. So this confirms that Trinity Interactive never technically went away, but are just operating under a different name. If that's the case, then why did they use the Trinity YouTube channel in order to post the trailer for this game for a completely separate company? Well, the answer for that one is kind of obvious. They still have about 20,000 subscribers, and this is the same channel they posted all of their trailers to that had previously garnered millions of views. So this begs the obvious question, can Call of Mini Zombies come back? Well, the answer is maybe. I'm not sure what kind of restrictions this new studio would have, or if it even has any of the developers from Trinity Interactive Studios previously. They did leave a link to a Discord server for this Mini Warriors game that I joined to see if maybe they had said something about what happened to Trinity Interactive, or just anything regarding the situation with the Call of Mini series. I went through all of the announcements in the announcement channel and even went back to the very beginning of when this server was created. The only interaction I can see even mentioning Trinity Interactive is a no longer existing user on Discord asking, could William Shee reply to what happened with Trinity so everyone can stop asking? The only response we got was from somebody with a developer role saying, I'm not sure when he is on Discord because we need VPN to get on. Maybe he will, I don't really know. William Shee, of course, is the CEO for Trinity Interactive Studios. Now, I couldn't find any information saying that he was also the CEO for Moment Interactive, but they also didn't flat out say that he was a part of the studio in this message. One more quick search in that same channel and I found another person asking, will the Call of Mini franchise be ever reinstated or is that over and done with? Another response from that same developer simply saying, no idea, we'll see I guess. So with that, there is a very good chance that the series might return in the future. It's hard to say for sure now, since these comments were made over a year ago, but it definitely leaves it open for interpretation. If you are dying to play this game right now, then there have been some revival attempts in the past couple years, whether it was on Roblox or by making applications through Unity to replay the game. The only way I was able to get the gameplay footage for this video was through one of those Unity applications, which I will link in the description in case you want to try it yourself. In conclusion, it seems like a lot of sources seem to point to the fact that people were simply getting hacked applications and not actually paying for the game or any of the microtransactions that existed to keep these servers up and running. So to answer the question of what happened to the series, they simply couldn't afford to keep it up anymore because the players just didn't appreciate what they had. What do you think? Is there a chance that the Call of Mini series could make a comeback? Is it completely out of the realm of possibility for this new studio if it has any of the previous members from Trinity Interactive? It's upsetting knowing a good series with developers who actually cared died out simply because people didn't want to pay. It's become the new norm for mobile games to be loaded with microtransactions the second you launch the game. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. If you enjoyed, please do consider liking and subscribing for more content just like this. If you haven't seen them already, check out the other videos on my channel that I've made about certain video games like Castle Crashers and Dying Light Bad Blood. If there's a certain game you want me to cover, then please do let me know in the comments.